Well, it gives me great pleasure to bring on board Rahul Shukla of HDFC Bank. He heads the commercial and the rural banking business for HDFC Bank. Now, the relevance of this business is huge for HDFC Bank, and this business is not only one of the fastest growing verticals for the bank, it also accounts for nearly 35% of the total bank advances as of 30th of June. Rahul, it's your first time it's your first time on ET Now, and we're interacting with you, so a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nikunj. My pleasure to be here.
Rahul, let's talk about what is happening to the business, which is a sizable business for HDFC Bank now, because this is one business which is the entire commercial rural banking business which has got hit because of the second wave. That is a perception. What is the reality? Has this business got hit because of the second wave and because of COVID?
Nikunj, the reality is very different from what we talk in TV newsrooms. The mood on the ground is positive. This is the busy season for agricultural financing, and business for both farmers and for us is robust. The commercial vehicle and construction equipment business is going strong coming out of the pandemic. Credit utilization by MSMEs is steadily increasing every month. Healthcare sector is currently very credit strong. So we continue to expand our geographic footprint, extending credit in rural and semi-urban areas of the country, and we see no credit challenges in finding new business. Underlying, Nikunj, each one of these trends is the visible hand of government policy. You have the CLGS, you have the scrappage policy, which is coming into force from October. There are a variety of far-sighted agri schemes and the policy support for expansion of healthcare segment in the non-metro areas. That strength from the government has stabilized the underlying sectors, the economy, as well as the banking system, and that is seen in the numbers that are coming out.
Well, in general, the view is that the COVID second wave, the first one was very big in terms of fear, not in terms of numbers. The second one was very big in terms of numbers, and rural India also got impacted. And the general view is that when rural India got impacted, it will impact your credit growth and it will also impact your book quality. But what you're confirming to us is that there is a big difference in perception and reality, and things for your business are looking up.
That is correct. If you look at Kerala, which is in the news because of COVID, even today, if you look at the latest news, there are 40% unoccupied beds, COVID beds available, and the ICU beds for COVID, the percentage availability is even higher than that. So this wave that we are seeing, or what some call it as, the third wave, which is not clear to me as yet, we seem to be managing much better. Business momentum is pretty strong. In my last conference call with investors, I had said that we had grown at 4% quarter-on-quarter growth, and this was below what should be the natural growth rate for my businesses. I can tell you that we are progressing quite smoothly in terms of expansion of growth rate towards its natural growth rate as it settles down. The markets are very open. We are blessed that we are a large country and a large market which is underpenetrated in credit. The policy-led transformation of agri and strong policy support for MSME will continue to allow banks to find high growth opportunity for a long time to come without any undue credit concerns.
So can I safely say that what you shared at the con call, which is that seasonality would kick in? You mentioned the word agriculture. I would use the term Q2 and Q3, and things from Q2 onwards will only start improving?
So that is actually the case. Let me take one of the segments that we are pretty active on, which is the transportation finance, where we go out and finance trucks and construction equipment and tractors. If I look at the disbursements that we did in the month of June, that was 110% of May. May was shut down, right? So you can say that looks pretty high. The month of July was 40% higher than the month of June, and August, which closed just about 3 days ago, that is about 20-25% higher than July. Now, we are a large financier, so a lot of growth cannot be attributed to market share increase. A lot of that growth has to be attributed to underlying strong trend in terms of growth. So that is the indicators that we are seeing in pretty much all of the businesses. I can go granularly in terms of data, but I just wanted to give you a sense of data which we see every day, and you can connect with that, Nikunj.
What about the unsecured end of the rural business? Does that bother you? Because that's where we still don't have a crystal clear clarity.
Look, in unsecured rural lending that you talk about, the total agricultural lending in the country is 15 lakh crore. 5 lakh crore is secured and 10 lakh crore is unsecured, and people have to figure out a way to play in that particular segment. Now, what have we said? We today, operate in 1 lakh villages, and we have said that in 2 years we would like to expand this to 2 lakh villages. That's a huge jump, but that is still 30% of the market. And at that point of time, we have to follow and also extend credit to the small and marginal farmers. When we expand, we will have to expand in a manner which is credit responsible. There are different things that are happening in the rural economy. Today, if you're saying that the rural segment will continue to remain the same as a sector and also for the banks in the next 10 years, nothing can be more far from the truth. That entire ecosystem is changing quite dramatically. So you have a shift towards rural agri-businesses, which is the value addition businesses. You have village warehouses as well as the rural logistics systems that are coming up, and you have the FPOs, or the Farm Producers Organization, which are springing up, which allow you to channel credit to the small and marginal farmer on an unsecured basis, but on the back of robust cash flows. And these organizations also allow the farmer to go out and get a little bit better pricing in the marketplace. So the way the structures are evolving on the back of at least 25 different government schemes, that it is possible to today go out and lend, and which is how we think about saying, look, if we have to sustainably grow, we have to push credit into the hinterland, and if we push credit into the hinterland, we have to look at structures where we will be able to provide credit without creating an NPA book, because that will only increase my cost of lending, which you can't do. You have to price your products right. So I'm not worried in terms of the rural growth rate. In fact, this is a quarter that I think I'm going to surprise myself at the amount of NPA recoveries, and the next quarter will have the harvest income, so that was going to give a further uplift. I think we do business on the basis that the common man is an honest man. You go out and push credit to MSME or to in the rural segment, and by and large, 99.99% of the people want to pay back their debt to the bank, and they are also indebted to the bank because the bank has helped them grow and come out of the poverty cycle. So that is how I see, Nikunj. A long answer to a very short question of yours. Apologies.
But that was the perfect setup for my next question. So my next question is that, Rahul, if you look at the shape of the economy, and that's natural progression, medium companies are becoming big companies, and big companies are becoming medium. Big companies are becoming mega companies, which is that the survival of fittest theory is applicable. So if you are lending to SME, and if the nature of the competitiveness is changing, don't you think you may end up just exposing to credit risk? While SMEs, they want to grow, but can they grow in this environment because they don't have competitiveness?
Look, at the end of the day, the MSME sector, if you look at the bank credit as well as the non-banking finance space, that is roughly about 20 lakh crore. And that is about 6.5 crore entities, of which roughly about 1.5 crore or thereabouts are borrowing, and the others are non-borrowing, who go out and take borrowing from the informal system. Now, that is the backbone that creates jobs. It is 35% of the economy. So when you think about it, this is a segment that needs to be protected. Go back and look at the ECLGS scheme that came out. It was very important at that point of time for the entire ecosystem to stabilize this segment. Now, MSMEs have to be, competitive, and there is a lot to say that they are actually competitive. Go back and think about, the top companies today, where they were between 1990 and 1995. I don't want to name the companies, but they would have been MSME. So there is a lot of technology infusion that is happening, and there is a lot of, tech support that is being provided through a variety of schemes, whether it is through the industry associations, through government policy, as well as through the nodal agencies, nodal financing agencies of the government. So I'm pretty positive that this is a segment where the NPAs will continue to remain low as far as we are concerned. And in fact, I must say that just as I said, we want to improve from 1 lakh, village coverage to 2 lakh. My goal by the end of the year is to improve my coverage in terms of MSME lending from 550 districts to 575, and in 2 years thereafter to 625 districts. That is a lot of districts, and that is how the bank is betting itself in this space.
Rahul, so are you gaining market share, or this is a pure market which is expanding?
So, let me put it this way. If you ask me what we should be doing in MSME, we should be present in every PIN code in the country. So the number one, is that we are expanding footprint. And number two, after expanding footprint, we are measuring what is our standing in each one of these places that we are. So the answer to you, Nikunj, as in life is, it's both. That obviously we are expanding our presence, and we are also gaining market share. Now, why are we gaining market share? At the end of the day, we have a digital platform which is fairly robust. You have to allow, the account opening to the local businesses digitally. You have to allow them to transact digitally, and you have to also answer their queries digitally. In this pandemic, many of the entrepreneurs in the far-flung areas have figured that their platforms may not be working, and our platform is fairly robust, and which is why we've seen an increased number of new customer additions to the bank, which gives us confidence that we are in the right track in terms of our platform, and that's how I see it. That is the reason for the growth in this segment for us.
How do you see technology implementation helping you? Because when you are looking at expanding reach, size and scale and size, obviously you cannot open that many branches. What kind of new digital infrastructure could be there in terms of the rural and the SME lending?
Nikunj, good question. Even though we are the largest private sector MSME bank in the country, probably the largest on the basis of sanctioned limits, we have a 10% market share in secured agri credit, as I just said, and we all put together between MSME and agri may have about 2 million customers. That's a pretty small number, and there is potential for dramatic expansion. Now, let me give you one example. We launched the Dukandar Overdraft scheme a month ago in partnership with the Common Service Center VLE program of the government. On the basis of 6 months bank statement, we sanctioned a unsecured limit from 50,000 rupees up to 10 lakh rupees. This enables the program to support even the corner Jhalmuri wala. You can't do this physically. The program has to be digital, but there is a lot to do. We are good at digital front end and customer self-service leg. We are good in transaction fulfillment, barring areas such as mortgage creation, which aren't digital in the ecosystem. They are all moving towards the right direction. We have also now several years of experience behind us in digital credit decision, which is what we need to continue to improve upon. So I can say that in one lifetime, from my college days, I'm thrilled to move from Turing machines to heuristic analysis to artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Rahul, are you also able to use the advantage of technology in order to increase your deposit franchise from rural India? Because while you're expanding, any transaction has a two-way relationship. You take deposit and you give loans. Are you seeing a change in that pattern as well, at least on the deposit franchise?
So, the deposit accounts have largely remained with the nationalized banking system. All the rural customers may have, that belief but we are making steady progress in that. To penetrate very deep, digital is very important. So we have the tools, we have the solutions, and we are on that journey where we are continuing to see a pretty good deposit growth rate in that space in the semi-urban and rural markets.
The complete ecosystem which you are creating for rural, and I'm talking about, let's say, the agri loan here, transport loan here, do you see them becoming large in terms of getting business from fee-based transactions? Can they add more to other unsecured loans also? Do you see this entire retail ecosystem which, let's say, got created 15-20 years ago when it started with deposit, it started with loans, and then fee-based income started, layering it up? Are we at that change even in rural India?
Let me say this. If you actually look at the analysis of just rural lending today, it is about 90% crop lending. And the crop lending is largely behind wheat, rice, dal, and sugarcane. That ecosystem is completely changing because there is a lot of push in horticulture, there is a lot of push in vegetables, fruits, etc. in terms of poultry, piggery, those sort of things. So if you look at it today, the farmer's income is no longer only crop lending based. That is about 35 to 40%. But the rest is coming from these allied agri activities as well as some value added products. So that is where the trend is going. Now look at the credit flow data. Today, every farmer, and this is not, this is regulatory data that comes out. Today, a lot of credit is going towards home improvement, towards consumer durable, towards auto and two-wheeler loans. So if you have to be relevant to the customer, right, you have to be in all of those spaces. So I don't want to look at it that, look, there is a rural ecosystem. We are, basically out there, reaching out, and we want to do X, Y, or Z. You want to be a bank which is going out and supporting the entire 360-degree credit as well as deposit needs of the customer. So when you give them crop lending or the value-added agricultural business lending, you are also looking at their personal borrowings. What is the need? And you have to go out and look at those. So that is a whole strata of farmers that you look at. But below that, also have to look at 85% of the farmers, which are small and marginal farmers. These are people who don't get full banking credit. And so they rely on informal lending. Now, if you look at the yield on a small farm and the large farm, today data suggests that the yield is not different. The price that they get for their produce is getting better because of ENAM, FPO, and a variety of other market schemes. So there are ways of going out for banks to go out and provide full credit needs of these farmers without unduly risking the balance sheet of the bank and making them more viable or sustainable in terms of just their economic well-being, which is, how we should look at this opportunity, Nikunj.
Okay, now you are the number 2 player in MSME lending. Do you have ambitious target to become number 1? If yes, how soon?
There's one thing I will tell you, whether it is Mr. Puri, who was our managing director, or Sashi, or our chairman, nobody has ever said that we are chasing a ranking. Podium finish is not, Nikunj, the goal of banking. Economic upliftment is the goal of banking. Credit extension is the goal of banking. We know that we are fairly, it's a matter of belief that we have to do more rural and we have to do more MSME. Now think about this, group in the middle. We have to deliver growth similar to retail. We have to turn it into a large profit segment by controlling NPAs similar to wholesale banking. And almost all of the books should be priority sector lending, which is in line with the country's objective. But it also enables other parts of the bank to continue to grow. So we will look at, trying to achieve all these 3 objectives. But you should, as you alluded before, this is not possible without strong digital processes. So what we are doing at this point of time is making sure that in Mufassal towns, digital POS is out there. It is connected. CASA accounts are getting digitally opened, enabling 100% transactions digitally and solving queries digitally. So the customers, we are lucky and blessed that they continue to come towards us and join with us. And that makes us believe that we are doing the right thing as far as banking in this segment is concerned.
Rahul, you're the perfect person to perhaps update our viewers as to how the face of rural India is changing. Living in a city like Mumbai, we always have an image of what rural India is. That few years ago there was a kacha makan which has become a pakka makan. Bad roads have become good roads, but they're still an agrarian dependent economy. Now with technology, now with internet, now with smartphone, I'm sure rural India has changed. So what is your understanding of what the rural India is, where it is moving, and how the shape of that economy is changing?
Nikunj, I just take you back in time on history. This agrarian economy is just a recent phenomenon that we are a farming society. But if you go back 500 years, we had villages, but it was not dependent only on farming. There was a very good rural ecosystem. Look at the old texts. They talk about villages, but they talk about artisans. They talk about the ironsmith, goldsmith. There was a very healthy rural ecosystem. There was a lot of stress on value-added products from farming. Today, where we are headed, and that is why I say that, look, the way agri-lending is happening today is going to change dramatically. You have the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, which is talking about village warehouses as well as village cold logistics systems. You have the Swanidhi or the PM Kusum scheme, which is again changing the pace of rural systems. So there are about 25 or 30 different schemes which are slowly nudging a dramatic shift in how rural ecosystem is going to look like, or the rural economy is going to look like over the next 5 to 10 years. And underlying this is that, look, we have reached the limit in terms of scale farming, which is the Green Revolution gave us food security. By putting more chemical pesticides, you no longer can go out and increase yield from that particular farm. And that's where these other things come in, and this is changing quite dramatically on the ground. If you look at it, if there is a marginal farmer who was making about 25,000 rupees a month, has shifted away to certain fruit crops, and the income has grown to about 5 to 7.5 lakhs per annum for that particular farmer. This is changing quite dramatically, and this is what is leading to a growth in the rural consumption.
So just to wrap up today's interaction, it's been a fabulous and insightful interaction. If I summarize by saying that, look, the fear of a large NPA and rural India slowing down is actually slightly is a false fear. The economic reality, at least for HDFC Bank, is that the rural economy is doing okay, and progressively things will only improve.
You summarized it very well, Nikunj. I will just say that we are a underpenetrated market in credit. It is HDFC Bank's belief that the banking system can continue to expand, and we will continue to expand our footprint as well as the credit book, and we do not see any challenges in terms of NPA creation as a result of this expansion. Thank you.
Well, that's the punchline. That's the punchline I was looking for. But I appreciate your time and pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Nikunj. Thanks a lot.